Men and women of Reddit who caught their significant others cheating, how did you do that? And what was your reaction? June 1, 2018. Normal day. A Friday. My husband had kissed me goodbye and gone to work. I was cleaning the house for company who was coming to stay the weekend. The doorbell rang. There was a man at my door who introduced himself as the husband of a woman who my husband worked with. He was there to tell me that my husband and his wife were having an affair. He had busted them about 6 months prior and had told his wife that she had to end the affair. He thinks that she did end it, for about 3 months, but then they started up again. When he found out they were at it again, he called my husband, because he knew if he confronted him in person, he'd be in a jail cell for what he'd have done. On the phone, he told my husband to leave his wife alone or else he would come and tell me everything that was happening. Apparently, my husband thought that he was bluffing. So I was literally the last to know. My husband never came home again. He got an Airbnb and a lawyer. The divorce was December 21, 2018. We had been together for 24 years. Still hurts. I caught my wife after she passed away from cancer. Worst feeling ever. Caught between unending love, mourning and absolute anger. This is almost word for word how the convo went. Me, you sleeping with so-and-so. Her, yay. Me, wanna divorce? Her, kinda. Me, okay, I'll file tomorrow. Went for my yearly checkup and tested positive for chlamydia. Turns out my ex was sleeping around. Edit. Apparently false positives are common with these types of tests, so have yours tested as well. I hope you're in a relationship where you can openly talk about such things. We got married when I was 17, and he was 21. He was shipping off to sea, and I was escaping a bad home life. When he came back after his deployment, he wasn't the same person anymore. After about 6 months, he gained weight on purpose to fail his physicals so he'd get kicked out of the Navy. Fast forward a year, I'm working full-time, and he is sitting at home, watching anime and drinking during the day, and telling me that he was applying to jobs. I was applying to universities when my laptop died on me. I asked to use his to finish an app, and while doing so a message popped up on his Facebook. A topless pic of his ex, from her. I was shocked and opened it to find that they'd been dating for a long time, started again while he was at sea in the Navy. He would talk to her and never to me, saying that he never got the time to email. She had sent him a pic because he had said how he missed having big tits like hers to play with, and how mine were just too small so he felt like he was fucking a boy or a child. I confronted him, he made a bunch of pitiful excuses. I had my friends come to the house that day and kick him out while I went to work. He then stalked me for the next few years, and made posts on his Facebook about how I was a coward. He sent emails and called from blocked numbers to tell me that a restraining order is just a piece of paper, or that our vows before God made me his property, and shit like that. Then he bought a gun, and started telling our friends that, if he can't have me no one can. I ended up talking to our friends, and told everyone conflicting information about where I was going, and moved states. I deleted all my personal social media accounts and lived in fear for years, watching him continually make memes about how he loved his wife and would do anything for her. It took 8 years for me to finally get the divorce from him. The story is remarkable in that it happened before the internet was widely available, in the very early 90s, when the world seemed much bigger. My fiancée, Meg, had 1 semester left of college that had to be taken as an internship abroad for her major. She chose to go to Belgium for this internship. I stayed back and the plan was that I would set up house and when she returned that summer, she would move directly in and we would set a date for our wedding. So, while Meg was off in Europe, calling every couple of weeks to check in, the long distance was super expensive back then, sending me postcards and letters, I moved into a brownstone, bought furniture, etc. About 2 weeks before Meg was supposed to return, I stopped into a nearby coffee house that I had noticed down the block, but had yet to visit. To my surprise, I found that my neighbor from growing up in a completely different city, Claire, was a waitress there. We hadn't seen each other since high school, so we made a plan to meet up after her shift for a cup of coffee to catch up. We met and Claire told me that she was engaged as well, to a man, Ben, who was completing his course of study by working on an internship in, you guessed it, Belgium. I couldn't believe the coincidence, and told her about my fiancé, and that they had to know each other. Crazy, right? A couple days later, I stopped in for a cup of coffee and Claire looked extremely upset. She asked if I had time to wait, as she had a break coming up, and that she needed to talk to me. We went outside and she told me that she had gotten a call from her Aunt Sue the day before. Aunt Sue had just returned from Czechoslovakia, and that something very strange had happened. While they were touring Prague, Sue and her travel group had stayed in a local hotel, and the next morning she had run into Claire's fiancé, Ben, in the lobby, with a female companion by the name of Meg. She said that he introduced her as a student from America, that they worked together, but it was very awkward and they both looked scared shitless. Claire said that she immediately called long distance to Belgium, and after several tries over the course of a day or so, got him on the phone. She asked him about the chance encounter and he said he had been kind of expecting her call, and ended up admitting that he had been seeing Meg pretty much the entire time they were in Europe, spending weekends and holidays traveling around with each other. I was floored. Couldn't believe it. I went home and started trying to call Meg at her dorm in Belgium, finally getting through to her late into the night, early morning for her. I point blank asked her if she was dating Ben. I didn't even explain how I knew about it. She hemmed and hawed for a moment, kind of acting like I was crazy for saying something so nonsensical, but when I said that I knew Claire, she dropped the facade and admitted to all of it. So Ben and Meg had a very bittersweet homecoming. Meg got off much easier than Ben, as Claire had already left all of his belongings on the front lawn, from the day she found out, which had been pretty picked over by the time he got back 2 weeks later. I did pick Meg up from the airport. I think at the time I really just wanted to see her face when I told her that all of our friends knew what a piece of shit she was, and that I never wanted to see her again. To this day I revel in how many utterly astounding factors of complete random coincidence went into Meg and Ben, who later married, then later divorced after he cheated on her, being caught. The universe works in incredible and mysterious ways.